How do you turn an epic franchise from a paint-by-numbers modern reboot into a franchise that literally blows your mind? I'm going to tell you how, so stick around. Good journey. If you could do me a favor and stick around till the very end of the video, and if you do like the content, give it a big like, share it out, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much. May the power protect you all. Welcome to Nerd Archaeology. I'm Theta, your guide on this adventure into theorizing on how this yearly modern reboot survey says this year's reboot is ding ding ding, Masters of the Universe. Doesn't need a reboot, doesn't need a rewrite, the lore is already there. The key to this movie being a success already exists if the studios would pay attention, if they cared about the characters, the nostalgia, if they cared about the fans and the lore, but I don't think they do, because this movie just seems like a copy of Superman meets Guardians of the Galaxy. You know, I watched the trailer and the footage from the Super Bowl of Masters of the Universe, and I gotta tell you, I walked away from it feeling nothing really, except for when Cringer was on screen, because I love cats, and a green and black tiger, that's my spirit animal right there. Tear to my eye. But, you know, I walked away from it feeling nothing. I didn't really feel joy, except for that Cringer part, and disappointments maybe a little bit, but not rage or anything like that. And really, that's the worst place for He-Man to be, because Masters of the Universe is supposed to feel ancient, it's supposed to feel epic, it's supposed to feel cosmic and mythic and ethereal, but instead it just feels like a bunch of studio execs got together. It's time for them to make a new modern reboot, and lore is just luggage to them. They don't think about it as fuel for the fire that burns within the fans or the franchise. They're just here to sell you more merchandise, so here's a commercial for you.
By the power of Grayskull, master your universe.
So today I'm not here to complain. I'm not here to mostly complain anyway. I'm really here to show you studio executives that you can show us fans that you actually do care about this franchise. That you actually do care about the characters and the lore and the nostalgia, and you can utilize that by doing one simple thing. Make the 1987 movie canon. Make it the prequel to this movie, and I'm going to show you exactly how you can do that with the footage that you've already shot. So let's get into that. So what we've learned from the new sport ball event thing that happens apparently once a year, I don't know anything about it, but Prince Adam apparently was sent to Earth as a child, kind of like Kal-El being sent from Krypton. But Prince Adam, he sits at a desk with his nameplate that has he/him pronouns that we're not gonna get into, because I would just rage out, but he thinks that he has a destiny that is greater than him sitting at that desk, which he does. So he goes into a game shop at one point and he sees a barbarian mannequin that happens to be holding the exact sword of power from Eternia, and he goes up to it and he tries to pull it from the hands of the mannequin while the manager and the customers in the shop are just looking at him like he's a complete idiot, because you can't have a movie without a white male that's a complete idiot. I'm not going to get into that either, but I'm just... another thing that just fries my brain. I can't believe we're still doing this. But apparently Teela comes through a cosmic wormhole and picks him up and takes him back to Eternia. there was a war at some point. I don't know if this war took place before Prince Adam was sent to Earth, and that's the reason why he was sent to Earth, which would make sense, especially in the theory that I'm about to present to you. But there was a war, and now they need him back. They need him to pull the sword of power and become He-Man and channel that cosmic energy. So that's what we've gotten, and we've seen Skeletor. We've seen Jared Leto as Skeletor, or rather we've seen a CGI version, which I think is brilliant, because I don't want to see another movie with Jared Leto's face in it. I'm still pretty salty about Tron Ares, honestly. So that's what we've got so far. We don't know much else about it other than he is Prince Adam and he turns into He-Man just like in the cartoons and in the comics. But let's get into something a little deeper. Hollywood's learned the wrong lesson, and they've been enforcing it with their own ego. They think nostalgia means reset everything, strip it down, start all over. And that approach keeps failing, obviously. RoboCop, Total Recall, Ghostbusters 2016, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I could keep going on and on. Reboots don't build mythology. They erase consequences. And He-Man without consequences isn't He-Man at all. Alright, so here's the theory that changes everything. The 1987 Dolph Lundgren Masters of the Universe He-Man was never Prince Adam at all from the cartoons and comics. And for those of you that aren't in with the mythology of He-Man and Masters of the Universe, Prince Adam is He-Man. But I believe that if you made the 1987 Dolph Lundgren He-Man King Randor Prince Adam's father, that would make everything make sense in this new movie, and all you'd have to do is make a few new reshoots and take out a few new scenes, and it would be completely epic. It would be like Spider-Man No Way Home with all three Spider-Men from the three different universes. People would never see it coming. So let's do this, and I'll explain exactly how you do it and why it makes sense. In the 1987 film, he's never called Prince Adam. Teela, Man-at-Arms, Sorceress, nobody calls him Prince Adam or Adam at any time. They don't need to. They're at war. He doesn't need to have a dual identity. Skeletor has won at this point. Skeletor has taken over Eternia. He has the cosmic key. He can go anywhere, anytime. He has beaten He-Man at this point. So he thinks, anyway. And I hear you saying, yeah, but he's never called King Randor either. Yeah, but he's never called Prince Adam. And when he loses his sword, he would transform back into Prince Adam, and everybody would see that he is Adam. But they never do. They never have any reaction at all when he loses his sword. And secondly, he never transforms either. When he loses his sword, Skeletor puts it in a pedestal locked next to his throne. And when He-Man actually breaks free from the chains and pulls the sword from that pedestal and ends up yelling the line, "I have the power," yeah, there is a light that comes off the sword, but he never transforms. He doesn't get any more powerful. He doesn't have a sword that's more powerful. It's just a shot that is supposed to get us hyped up for the fight. He's always He-Man in this movie, and he's always King Randor in this movie. I think that the studios, you could use this to your advantage and have an event kind of like Spider-Man No Way Home, where you had the three Spider-Men from the three different universes, Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and Tom Holland. That's the kind of event I'm talking about with this. I think when people see that Dolph Lundgren shows up as King Randor, I think minds will be blown. So getting back to the 1987 film. Being He-Man all the time and never transforming, never being called Prince Adam, it's not sloppy writing. This was a different stage of the myth. And here's the key change. The weapon that He-Man wields in 1987 is not the Sword of Power. Well, it is, but it isn't. It's a champion's weapon, a royal blade passed down by Eternian kings to their sons. It's a symbol of office, not a cosmic conduit as we see in the comics and cartoons. There is no transformation ritual because there doesn't need to be one yet. Randor doesn't become He-Man. The Sword of Power doesn't exist yet, not as we know it. What exists in the 1987 film is a cosmically pre-power infused relic. A blade fit for a king of Eternia to wield, but not containing all of the power of the universe, waiting to be unleashed and become one with the owner of this post-cosmic powered artifact of sorcery. It was a weapon strong enough to be wielded by a king with courage and perseverance, to break the connection to the cosmic power of a god, Skeletor in this case. A blade not imbibed with the cosmic power to transform that king into one himself. And when I say transforming into one himself, I'm talking about transforming into a god, that is. But just because he's not the cosmically powered He-Man we know from the cartoons and comics doesn't mean he isn't He-Man, because he already is. The role of He-Man predates the myth. The power does not. Alright, so let's talk about the Cosmic Key, not as a joke, as lore. In the 1987 film, the Cosmic Key is invented technology built by Gwildor, capable of storing precise coordinates, able to open repeatable dimensional gateways through space and time. That means interdimensional travel already exists by the time this new film takes place, and is standard technology in Eternian ships. That means Earth isn't random. Earth is mapped. So when Prince Adam is sent to Earth decades later, that's not a coincidence. That's strategy. Eternia didn't discover Earth in this new movie. They already knew where it was, because they'd been there before. Now let's talk about Skeletor, because this is where things get mythic. Look at Skeletor in 1987. He's not just a clean skull. He's pale, stretched, corpse-like. Still a little fleshy, but barely. That's not design inconsistency, that's corruption. This Skeletor isn't a complete skull yet. He's a sorcerer so evil that his body is already failing under the weight of his own dark power. Does it sound familiar? It's the same visual language as Emperor Palpatine. Palpatine didn't rot because of age, he rotted because the dark side consumed him. The 1987 Skeletor is in the same state. A man in the final stage of becoming a monster. Now rewatch the ending. Skeletor is thrown into the lava, his flesh melts away. And here's the important part, he doesn't die. The lava doesn't destroy him. What remains is pure malice and sorcery. A skeletal form animated by dark magic alone. So when we see a full skeletal Skeletor in the new movie, that's not a reboot. That's the aftermath to what happened in the 1987 movie. When Randor defeats him, he doesn't just win. He breaks the staff, focusing all of that power. And that energy has to go somewhere, so it goes into the only artifact strong enough to hold it. The Sword of Power. The sword doesn't get redesigned. It gets reforged by the universe itself. That's why Prince Adam needs to transform. Randor wielded a weapon. Adam wields the master key to cosmic power. That's what makes him He-Man. So let's erase a misconception here. The Sword of Power does not exist in the 1987 Masters of the Universe movie. At least not in the form that we know it as. The sorceress did put an enchantment on it, but what exists is a pre-cosmic power relic. A blade capable of channeling force, but not containing it. It can amplify strength, it can focus energy, but it does not regulate cosmic power. It's strong enough to end a god, but not to become one. That distinction changes everything about the sword. At the end of the 1987 film, Skeletor does something unprecedented. He taps into the raw cosmic universal energy using the moon lens alignment. This isn't sorcery, this isn't technology, this is cosmic convergence that makes him a god. He becomes literally the master of the universe. And when Randor defeats him, he shatters the staff that was channeling that energy using the Sword of Power that was enchanted by the sorceress. But the energy doesn't die. It disperses. And Eternia has just learned a terrifying truth. No single being should ever hold that kind of power unrestrained. After the battle, the sorceress intervenes. She gathers the dispersed cosmic energy Skeletor tried to claim, and for the first time in Eternian history, she binds it. Not into a king, not into a champion, into a safeguard. She forges a new artifact, the Sword of Power. Not as a weapon, but as a lock, a containment device, a failsafe. It's not a redesign, it's evolution. The Sword of Power is trauma forged into steel. And that lock is exactly why Randor never needed to transform. Because the power wasn't bound yet. Adam does. Because the universe built limits. The Sword of Power exists now. Because Skeletor proved that raw cosmic universal force corrupts absolutely. King Randor and Queen Marlena make a decision. Not out of fear maybe, but out of strategy. They send Prince Adam to Earth, not randomly, not blindly, but because they know that they can send him to Julie and Kevin, the ones that already know about Eternia, the ones who stood in Castle Grayskull, the ones who helped defeat Skeletor. Julie and Kevin understand the stakes. They've seen cosmic power. They've seen what happens when it goes wrong. They are the safest place in the universe for a child who will one day wield the Sword of Power. Earth becomes exile. Exile becomes protection. And Adam grows up unaware because awareness would attract attention. And we don't want attention on our Prince Adam, He-Man. So all the fans notice that this takes place on Earth at some point. Maybe for a little bit, maybe for half the movie, who knows. But to me, that's fine as long as you stick to my plan, because I have a plan that makes it all make sense. We're probably going to set this movie 20 to 30 years after the 1987 movie. Hell, maybe we'll set it 40 years after, because He-Man or King Randor has to still meet Queen Marlena and have the two twins, Princess Aurora and Prince Adam. Randor is definitely older in this, so Dolph Lundgren would fit the part still. Adam exists, Eternia has scars, Skeletor has now evolved and comes back with sorcery comparable to the sorceress, and he wants revenge. Luckily, King Randor and his wife Queen Marlena know a safe place to send Prince Adam. And just where do you think that could be? To Julie and Kevin, who are in their mid-50s, early 60s by now, and they raise Prince Adam from Earth. Suddenly, Earth makes sense now. The sword makes sense. Skeletor makes sense. The legacy makes sense. This becomes Masters of the Universe No Way Home moment. Not with the multiverse, but with continuity. Alright, so is the timeline starting to click for you? Because it should be. The 1987 Masters of the Universe was the Age of Kings. The cartoon, the comics, and this new movie is the Age of Containment. Modern reinterpretations are the Age of Myth. He-Man was originally a title, a champion of Eternia, royalty, a king. Only after Skeletor becomes a god and imbibes the cosmic universal energy through the moon lens does he become a god, and He-Man becomes something else after he breaks that staff and shatters that cosmic universal power. The sorceress turns the sword of power into a vessel, a regulated conduit, a living failsafe. The sword of power is guarded, it's feared, regulated, even by its own creators. It's not a birthright, it's a burden. So it turns out the 1987 movie wasn't a bad adaptation. It's the origin of the Sword of Power. It's the reason Prince Adam exists. It's the moment Eternia realizes there is now a cosmic power that needs to be controlled. That cosmic power needs to be wielded by a true heroic champion of Eternia. Power without limits creates monsters if wielded by one with evil in their hearts. So they built limits in a way only a courageous and good soul can utilize it. So they imbibe its power in an artifact with these parameters and ritualize it. They mythologize it, hiding its secrets, and they send Prince Adam across the stars. Not because he's weak, but because he is too important. And now the real question becomes, if the Sword of Power is the key to the cosmic power, what happens if Skeletor breaks the containment? What if the containment fails? How would Eternia survive? Or something stronger than a king? Because maybe, just maybe, the 1987 movie wasn't the end of something. Maybe it was the beginning to everything. Alright everybody, so here's the sad part. This is the part that hurts. This makes sense. This works too well. And that's why we're probably not going to get this version of the movie. Because it's too good. And the writers today, they don't care about the franchise as much as we do. They don't care about the 1987 movie the way that it's become a cult classic. Or maybe they think it's too risky or inaccessible. It's because modern Hollywood doesn't think in terms of mythology. They think in terms of resets. How can they put their stamp on it? But fans don't want resets. They want recognition. They want lore. They want continuity. They want the feeling that their stories that they grew up with meant something. That time passed, but those choices, they still mattered. That evil had consequences. That heroes aged. This theory doesn't rewrite Masters of the Universe. It remembers it. And it's a love letter to it. And if this never becomes canon, that's not because it doesn't work. It's because nobody in the room cared enough to connect the dots. And honestly, that might be the most tragic and most Eternian ending of all. Thank you for sticking around to Nerd Archaeology. I'm Theta. Would you please like and subscribe, share this out, and leave a comment down below? I'd really appreciate it. May the power protect you, and good journey.